welcome to another edition of a little segment, a little series we like to call First Worst Street. And what that means is we talk to a comic. In this case, it's my very good friend Ray Zawodni and hilarious comedian. And what he's going to do is tell us his first joke, his worst joke, and a street joke, his favorite street joke. We've been doing these. They've been a blast. So, hello, Ray. How are you?
What's up, Sean?
I've been hanging all day. It's been a blast, buddy.
I know.
Let's start it off. I know you're a huge fan of street jokes. You came up with the idea for the segment. What is it? Let me ask you this before you start yours. What is it you like about street jokes?
Well, it's how I learned how to be funny, or like how I got attention, because I grew up in bars growing up. So I would like learn street jokes, and then I would tell them outside of the bar,
like at school,
and just got very mixed reactions.
Yeah,
and to, like my mom and like family members.
I feel like that happens with comics, with street jokes, and also that first moment that makes you realize you want to do stand up. It's when you get that stand up type laugh with something you said with your friends or in public.
Yeah, like when the first time you killed.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
you know?
Even if it's just like very brief.
Yeah,
you're like, I just murdered this doctor's
these
office.
People all like me because I said 9 words in a row.
So let's get to it. Do you remember what your first joke you said on stage was?
First joke that I said on stage, I think it's kind of hard to remember like your first exact joke, but this is the one I remember. Like the first joke I ever wrote, and I think it was kind of a good joke.
Yeah.
And it was about, I read this article about Biggie Smalls, and they tell you what he had in his pockets the night that he died.
I kind of like it already.
And
as an idea.
Yeah. and like I go through like all the contents. I was like, he had like 0.94 grams of weed on him, which I'm like, who had the balls to short Biggie Smalls on a gram? And then like the main like point of the joke was, I got nervous because I was like, what if I die right now while I'm reading this and they check my pockets?
That's actually a good idea for a bit.
It was because I didn't do I wrote for like 6 months.
Yeah, but I think
that was like the first joke I ever tried.
What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to like jot down stuff for a while and watch shows. And what was the punchline? What was the
punchline was like I checked my pocket. I'm like, I have 2 McDonald's French fries, an empty wallet, and a ticket stub. This is how old this was, and a ticket stub to the movie Friends with Benefits. And it was like, the cop would have seen that and been like, this fat French fry saving bastard spent his last $10 to see Justin Timberlake in a movie.
You just reminded me that I have a similar thing about junk drawers where I had a joke early on that was, you could always tell how rich a family was by what was in their junk drawer.
Yeah.
So if my friend Opie, he was rich. It was like keys to it. For us, we were broke. So it was keys to his Chevy, some loose change, and like a Snickers bar. Yeah. My friend Opie is rich. It was keys to a Jag, $100 bills, and a Toblerone. That was supposed to be the punchline of the joke. But it's like you should bring that back. That pocket.
Do you think so?
Yeah, just different punchline. But yeah, because you can get more. Now the idea of being absurd in punchlines. That's true down the middle,
I don't know which one came first, because the other joke that I did at the time was like kind of like a one-liner, and it was, it was a dated reference then. I said, do you think Bryan Adams went through a lot of chapstick during the summer of all that 69ing?
There's the Ray we know.
It's still funny to me. I still think it's so funny. Do you get it? Because it's the summer of 69. He was talking about the year.
I got it.
I'm talking about the sex act.
I was on board from the beginning.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Whatever, dude.
So that's around the same time. Those two first. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as far as worst goes, this could be any time. Like was there a halting moment where you're like, that might be the worst joke that I've ever written?
I have a lot of bad jokes. What would you? I'll give you the choice. Would you rather have the one that was just the hackiest, or the one that just doesn't age well?
I think I want I don't say both, but I want the hackiest first.
The hackiest is, and it used to crush, but I would never do it again. I'm embarrassed to even tell people about this joke. And like, I would close my sets with a joke with a music cue in it. Yeah, I originally did it without the music cue, and then the guy at the Improv where I came up in Pittsburgh was like, it would be great with music. And it was a joke about how I love rap music, but it's hard for me to listen to it when I drive because I get way too into it, and I also think I'm like way like harder than I am. So I would be in the car and like I start doing like this is that new Jay-Z, and I start like pretending like I'm driving, but I start dancing. Like I would let my like hand off the wheel and I'd like spin around and like dance.
So it was act out and a musical cue. Oof.
So it's so bad, dude. And then I ended the joke where I was like, oh, and then I hurry up and like grab the wheel like I almost wrecked. And I was like, one time I was driving so reckless I got pulled over by a cop, and the cop comes to my window, and I'm still thinking that I'm like harder than I am, and he's like, do you know why I pulled you over? And I said in a Jay-Z voice, I'm not going to do it for the podcast, but I said, probably because I'm young and I'm black and my hat's real low.
Oh.
And then I said, that black cop kicked my ass outside of my Nissan Sentra to the Black Album. It was something like that. I probably wrote it a little better, but it was still like it was hack every step of the way. It was like music cue, dancing, impression,
cultural appropriation.
And the thing is I did the joke, and it was like I got most of like my early work as like a feature in like all black rooms.
Because of that joke, you think?
No.
Oh.
But they liked
like
the
joke.
crowds really liked it. And like I even got like compliments from some of the headliners. They're like, "Oh, I like that joke."
No. I think it's you have.
It was
good elements
earnest. It
in the
was
joke.
earnest. I wasn't doing it like.
No, you weren't doing it like.
I wasn't
I'm going to show you how
forcing
I can rap.
Yeah, I wasn't forcing the joke like.
When comics think they're musicians.
Yeah, but I also wasn't forcing the joke like it's something that I want to. Like I didn't realize I was culturally appropriating. I was like 25. I really loved rap music.
Yeah, there wasn't any
It came from like an earnest thought.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna write. I'm gonna do if I ever have to do a bat mitzvah, I'm gonna write a bunch of Jewish jokes and act Jewish or something.
That you're
like
not like adapting to the room.
Yeah, I mean, I would do it in all white rooms. I did the joke all the fucking time.
But the thing is, when you have the music cue, but that joke you could do without the music cue, like you said, you did it.
But it was very awkward.
When you have it, and when you need the music cue, that's when it becomes into a danger zone.
Well, I did it without the music cue, and it would work, but it was like so awkward. But with the music, it would just take it to the next level.
So that was one of them, and then the other one was the doesn't age well joke.
The other one that doesn't age well, it was a joke about texting and driving, and a commercial that was out there where this guy says, this was the text I just had to send before my accident. But I didn't say it like that, nor did he. He said it with a certain type of voice. He was like, this was the text.
Oh.
Like he was like fucked up. And I did the voice on stage. And then I said, and then it shows you the text and it just said, where are you? I'm like, this dude couldn't send a simple where are you text while he was driving. Doesn't it kind of make you think there was something wrong with him before the accident if he couldn't send a simple where are you text?
Wow, that really doesn't age well at all.
No shit.
Because this guy's still fucked up.
To be honest,
no winners.
There's
no winners in that bit.
No, I don't even think it was a real commercial. I might have made the commercial.
No.
up.
Well,
there was something like it.
There was something like it. I don't remember the guy being, mentally disabled from it.
Something. He definitely had a head injury.
Anyway, on to the next.
Well, you know why I quit doing the joke, and not to get too sensitive or weird about it, is I did the joke, and then what I would end with, I said, you hear me like I'm making fun of this guy, and now I'm gonna be the first person in here to get into an accident because of texting. Except mine's gonna be way more embarrassing. It's gonna be like, send me a picture of your boobs when they read my text.
Right.
Something like that. Something very on brand with the shit that I still do, and the joke would do well. It would do well a lot of places because I was doing like VFWs in like outside of Pittsburgh, and then one time it fell really flat, and this is like where I learned like maybe the best lesson ever in comedy, just about that that graph where like it has to be this funny if it's gonna teeter on this offensive. You know what I mean? Like it has to be so fun. Like you have to earn it. Like you have to really have faith in it and think it's that funny to potentially offend people. Because I had somebody come up after and they said, hey, you know why you lost them towards the end there with that joke? We just had a girl in the town.
That'll do it.
Yeah, and then I was like, fuck, man. Like I never want my comedy to be mean-spirited and alienate the audience like that, unless it's like the funniest next level joke, which I'm not that type of writer. Clearly, if you've been listening to the last,
this is years ago, so yeah. I think that's a good a good assessment. I think it's like that where it's like I feel the same way where it's like people are like, oh, because I yell on stage, but I'm like, people are like, oh, you yell at the audience. I'm like, no, it's in the goofiest way possible, and I'm not actually upset at anybody. And I think most people know that. Like when I actually am mad at an audience, I would just say the most vile things I can think, and it doesn't come out yelling. It's just me saying them,
being mean,
just being. And I've done it. It happens rarely, but I've done it where I'm like, I don't care about what happens anymore. You could all pull out a gun and shoot me right now, and I wouldn't care. Anyway,
burn in hell.
What your thing?
Yeah, it's still going though.
Oh, it is okay. Anyway, on to street.
Yeah,
street joke. You are the biggest fan of street jokes.
I love street jokes, and I will just tell one of my favorite jokes, and it's so silly, and it might not even get a laugh from you. But my buddy Jeff told me this years ago. And he's a comic in Pittsburgh, and it just makes me laugh so hard. And it's a grasshopper walks into a bar, and he jumps up on the bar stool, and the bartender's like, "Oh my God, so crazy you just walked in here. We have a drink named after you." And the grasshopper goes, "You got a drink named Steve?"
I like that one. I've heard it before.
Yeah,
it's great.
Cute.
It's a classic. That's probably like your quintessential like street joke. Like that's a perfect version of like where it's just a fun, inherently funny joke.
It's also the only clean street joke that I really know.
Yeah.
That I really like.
What about the guy, the genie one? There's another famous one. He goes, "You think I asked for a 12-inch pianist?"
Oh, I remember that one.
Remember that one? The grasshopper one. It's so funny because I think we should also talk about it. Like the idea of street jokes are so old. Like, not old, meaning like they came at a time where like stand up wasn't a thing yet. Like I think street jokes existed before stand up. So there was people who were like writing these jokes, and they just like almost like non-copyrighted music that you find online. It just the jokes become in the ether,
and they're just everybody.
It
kind of sucks for those people.
And also, do you find this? You don't hear them as much as you do. You don't hear about them as much as you used to anymore.
No, you don't.
Yeah, like
that's why I can't remember them all.
Same here.
Can I tell one more?
Yes.
Just that I remembered. I love this one. So a penguin is going to get his car looked at. He's going to get his car worked on. He's having issues with his car. And the mechanic goes, "Hey, it's going to take a minute. If you want to pop over next door, there's a diner. You get yourself something to eat, and then pop back over." So the penguin's like, "Okay." So he goes over to the diner, and he's really hungry for something sweet. So he gets a bowl of vanilla ice cream. So just, he's a penguin. He doesn't have hands to like scoop up the ice cream. So he just digs his little penguin face into the bowl of ice cream, just eating this vanilla ice cream, loving it. So he goes back over after a certain amount of time to check on his car. The mechanic walks out and he goes, "Well, looks like you blew a seal." And the penguin goes, "No, it's just ice cream."
See, I like that. I never heard that one.
Yeah.
I like that one. You want to hear, before we go,
Yeah.
a joke that my girlfriend's son loves?
Yeah.
And when little kids like a joke, they tell it to you 500 times in a row. He's off it now, but a couple months ago, every time he heard it and he did it, he would laugh the hardest out of everybody. Okay, he's 5. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Dishes.
Dishes who?
Dishes, the police, open up.
I like it.
Well, Ray, fantastic job.
Sounds good.
You look like you blew a seal.
No, just come.